Hello, everybody. Welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It is November the 8th of 2017. I'm Nick with Chris. We're going to talk manga today.
That's what we're going to aim to do. Every
I
day.
mean, yeah. Every day?
Well, every day in the theoretical, Thursday through Tuesday is the build up to Wednesday. It's all about grinding out those extra manga reps, just, working hard on Crunchyroll day, making sure you don't neglect any manga muscles so that you can get super manga swole in time for the podcast day. That's where you shut it off.
Sometimes you kind of slack off on Astra Day. You never know when you're going to get it in that time. So
exactly, you kind of go with it as it is, but it's all about being ready for the actual show day. The day before, don't drink any water. You want to kind of dehydrate yourself so that when it's time to actually do the show, you're in what physically seems to be the best shape possible. And it's a hellish 2 hours that we record, and then afterwards, you get to relax. Maybe you have a cheat day. You enjoy something non-manga related. It's a struggle, but it's worth it. That's why we're masters of the craft.
Because we're so dedicated to
Absolutely.
it.
That's why we're I didn't look on the iTunes top 100, but I'm sure we're
we're
3 or 4.
I'm absolutely
like
certain. Before we begin, I've got a little story to tell.
Go for it.
It's actually kind of 2 stories, but they're very much related. So some of you might recall the disappointing performance of my fingers when it came time for them to face injury last year when we went out drinking.
Oh,
and,
okay.
You smashed your Irish car bomb, and I would, like an idiot, went, "Ooh, what's this thing? Oh, it's a shard of glass. Oh, I'm bleeding." And then it was healed before the bartender could even bring me a Band-Aid. It was such a tiny cut.
He brought you a stretcher.
He brought me a joke small Band-Aid, and I was like, I think even that is too big. So okay, so a couple of weeks ago, I managed to break the monitor of my laptop like an idiot. Immediately ordered a new one, and I was like, I can replace this. And I could. It was actually not very much trouble. It took me probably about an hour's work when I had never attempted to even take this particular laptop apart before. But very early on in the process, I managed to split my fingernail, and a little bit of it came off. It wasn't a bad injury, but if you break off the tip of your fingernail, it exposes the nerves underneath. So it was occasionally very painful, but I'm still going through it, and I don't have any Band-Aids in the apartment at the time, so I'm just kind of occasionally having to stop and go to the bathroom and wash the blood off of my finger so I don't get it all over the circuitry. So I was like, all right, I put it back together, and I'm like, all right, yeah, with that finger injury, I have redeemed myself. I'm tough and awesome again.
You just started talking like Tim Allen from Home Improvement the rest of the day. You were so masculine and proud of yourself. You're just like, good job there, Nick.
But literally a couple of days after that, I reached for, I'm not kidding, a yogurt cup. And I cut my pinky finger on the aluminum lid of a yogurt cup.
Yogurt, did you?
A yogurt cup gave me a paper cut. And I was like, what the? Ow. Oh, ow. Oh, that's not too bad, though. It looks pretty Oh, no, I'm actually bleeding really heavily from this tiny little cut.
You're like, 911, help me! My yogurt cup hurt me!
So shortly after that, I'm like, it doesn't actually. Okay, now that the initial shock has passed, it doesn't actually hurt all that badly. They can't be. No, it's actually really bleeding a lot. So I had to get a Band-Aid because I cut myself on the aluminum lid of a yogurt cup. So I get it all cleaned up, and I put a Band-Aid on it, and God, whatever, that'll heal really quickly. I go back into the kitchen, and I start to reach for it, and I find myself kind of more cautiously reaching for it this time, and I think to myself, I'm being really careful when trying to pick up a cup of yogurt. And then I think, which would I prefer, that I handle a cup of yogurt carefully for 3 seconds, or that I have to go and tell people that I cut myself on the same yogurt couplet twice.
You're like, it was, this injury was from picking up the yogurt lid. My broken arm, though, came when I tried to actually eat it. It was very hard.
That's
I went in too hard.
like...
I slipped. Doctor said I'm lucky to be alive.
So that's my embarrassing story of the week.
So do you think you're like going to celebrate this new level of tough Nick with like maybe getting like a tattoo or maybe like drink some liquor like straight out of the bottle? You're like, I kind of feel like what Logan was like. I don't know if I can have my
hands near any needles right now. I don't trust myself.
Like, you're like, I kind of feel a lot like what Hugh Jackman must have felt like filming Logan, where I'm just like, I'm grizzled and tired, but I'm not going to let the world take me down until I accomplish this one last thing. Eating this yogurt.
Although the thing that I really don't get is like, I mean, he just had those blades coming out of his fingers all the time.
It feels like it would hurt.
It would really hurt.
So you finished, you're like, wait a minute. I don't even want yogurt right now. You put it back in the fridge, cut yourself again. Oh, why?
Curse you, milk carton. How could you do this to me? No, seriously, how could you do this to me?
Et tu, banana. It's still somehow stabbed through your hand.
At least I'll always have you, Pop-Tarts. No, you've turned against me.
You like bite into it. It's just like Tajiri poison mist you. Why?
Oh boy.
Well, that's great to hear.
Do you have anything else we want to say before we just shift over to talking about manga? Because we do have some pretty big chapters to talk about.
Yeah, it's quite a lot to talk about. Let's just jump into our series this week. I think we're good to go.
So we don't have My Hero Academia this week.
Mm-hmm.
There was a really big action climax chapter last week, so we're not getting anything until next week. So instead, we're going to kick off the recap portion of the manga recap with The Queen's Tart, chapter 238 of Food Wars, which actually gives us a kind of answer to the first year alliance that was doing the cavalry battle in the cover page of last chapter. This one, it's the remaining members of Central. And amusingly, Kobayashi is the one that's riding on the top, and Momo is one of the members on the base, and she's not very happy about it.
Well, I mean, I feel bad for her because Momo is so short and tiny. Like, it feels like it's an awful thing for her to have to be down there. Like,
Rindo must be kind of like tilting for the entire battle.
Or Sato just must be like half kneel, like he must be doing the tilt to keep her balanced or something. I don't know.
I mean, considering the sizes of all of them, they've like chosen basically the worst possible formation. The only way it could be worse is if they had Saito on top.
Basically, yeah.
All right. So last time, Urara smelled the aroma of Momo's dish, and it immediately enchanted her. And now she seems like she's like, oh, I'm dancing around like a Disney princess in a field of flowers and birds. Whee! Which is shocking to all involved. Then we see Momo actually take out her dish eventually. And it looks like she's carrying a basket of flowers. And in particular, a bunch of roses. And they're like, well, why does she put all those flowers? Where's the food? Where's the beef? And she plates a bunch of the flowers, and everyone's like, oh, they're tarts. Apple rose tarts. Which I have never heard of. But I will say, like, I mean, the ridiculous presentation of this is kind of what I was hoping to see from Central in general, as they were taking on this group of rebels. Just, they're the best students in the school. They should have these ridiculous dishes, as opposed to I put a lot of asparagus in it. That was my presentation.
I dumped a shit ton of asparagus on this plate. Enjoy.
It looks kind of like a big green glop. I mean, what kind of presentation is this? It's asparagus.
It's supposed to look like the hills of my homeland. Where's that? I don't know. Fucking Asparagisburg. Shut up and eat it.
So the judges eat some of the tarts. I'm not sure how to classify this on my over-under scale, because I don't think it's enough to qualify as fan service, but it's certainly weird.
Oh, what the male judge in like the dress?
Yeah,
I don't think that's enough to fit into your criteria.
I don't think so.
Not when there's an actual example of it later on in the chapter.
Right, right. And Momo's looking kind of proper evil, although kind of like a evil cat. The way her lips do the W thing that like cats do when they're drawn smiling in cartoons and stuff. The judges like it. I mean, of course they do. And she explains her dish because she actually used roses in the dish, which is interesting. I don't really know how this works. I mean, she explains that with the apples soak up the rose's scent. That is why there is a sweet aroma wafting from her food. And she explains how she prepared it and everything, but I literally am just like, okay, so she put like flower petals in the... Okay. A lot of this just goes in one ear and out the other for me. I don't understand cooking. I'm sorry.
Well, I get the sense of like she let the apples soak up the rose's scent. Like I can easily grasp that. The thing that I had trouble telling exactly, I was like, did she actually put physical roses in there, or did she just flavor the apple like the rose and then carve the apples up to look like roses?
I think that the tart itself is shaped like a rose, so like the breading of it.
That feels impossible. How can you shape bread like that?
Okay. She says like, yes, I mean, if you have to make sure to kind of preserve a lot of the delicate qualities of this dish, because if you just boil all of them together into a mush like a barbarian, it's hardly royal. This is an elegant and relaxed bath in rose-scented water. That is much more fitting for the Queen of Roses. If I had to give a name to my perfect new dessert, I'd call it the Queen's Apple Tart. So is she gonna like turn like to the Queen of Hearts at some point, like from Alice in Wonderland, like start threatening to chop off people's heads? Because that I'm kind of getting that vibe off of her between the rose obsession and the Queen thing.
Well, it's kind of cool that when they can find like a gimmick for these characters, they can fit them into a kind of wide stream of things. So she definitely feels like she's meant to be all of like the fairy tales and things of that nature, because they have her referenced as the fairy godmother, turning ordinary ingredients into spectacular things, and then later on we see her as like a puppeteer and things like that. So I could definitely see her fitting into like a Queen of Hearts sort of thing.
Probably my favorite part of the whole thing is just a little throwaway gag where she explains like, the basket's made of braided bread, so you can eat it too. An edible bread basket. Isn't it just so cute? I think it's super cute. She's like so pleased with this. Like, look, I made a basket out of bread.
It'd be great if like the judge was just like, I'm not eating the basket. Is there apple in it? Do I have to? No, fuck you. I'm not eating the basket then.
So yes, there is an imagined sequence where she is a fairy godmother turning, Cinderella into like a beautiful princess of food. I love the expression that she has in these fantasy sequences where she's going like,
yeah. Hey, you're better now. You're
now
good.
You're cute. Now you're cute.
You're not a fucking housewife anymore. You're a fucking pretty princess or whatever.
And now, after enchanting her ingredients into food, she enchants the judges, who turn into kind of Tinkerbells, basically.
Yes.
This
fits your fan service. I mean, the two male characters are in tiny Jingle Bell fucking tutus and elf boots and nothing else, and the female lead is in a tiny Tinkerbell outfit and I believe being controlled. Oh no, those are just wings. I thought she was on strings as well, but I think that fits into it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the two male judges' faces and tell me that it's not. Yeah, like there's something there at least.
I don't know. It's kind of weird because there's like the bits where it's like not particularly lewd, and then there are the bits that it's weird, and so whatever. I think that we'll count it as at least a half. So
All right. For this
But
bet
that brings
against
up
nobody.
that brings up Megumi. She is thinking to herself that because it's about time for her to present her dish, that she has to do everything that she has put her in this position. The teamwork that someone took me have offered her training, and of course, everything I've learned from Coach Shinomiya.
This shit is fantastic.
So remember that Megumi's big training with Shinomiya had her considering him like a coach from her favorite table tennis manga. This has morphed into him being her second in a mixed martial arts fight, where she transforms into a fighter wearing a tank top, shorts, and has her fists taped up. Interesting.
So yeah, it was the whole shoujo thing going on, because you still see that with Shinomiya's face, at least in that first panel, where he's definitely drawn very Bishonen and has that kind of attitude. But I love like him being like, go get him, Tiger, the match is about to start. And then she's out there, she's got her taped up fucking fist, she's in like boxing trunks, and it's in a boxing ring of some sort. You're just like, gotta punch right through. You're just like, what the fuck is that? Like, I love the juxtaposition here, because Megumi has always been like the cutesy naive character, and like they're going against someone who's she's going against someone who's just, I guess, because she looks like she's 8 years old, just is too cute for that. So they're like, we'll just go to the extreme. Megumi, you're like Rocky now, and you're going out there. He's just like, all right, let's do this then, Momo. I'm gonna punch your fucking roast tots out of your fucking tits now. Like, what? I love it though. I love how ridiculous that shot is of fucking Megumi with their fists up, taped up, and just talking about punching through things. It is great.
It was quite a bit of a jarring image because of what we've seen of her thus far in this entire arc. She has had her moments, but not in a while where she gets to look like this.
Yeah, and I just, in my mind, I'm already hearing, like, when they announced Little Mac was going into Smash Brothers, that music immediately started playing when she started doing it. It's like, do 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 do, and I imagine
just cuts her all of her training with Shinomiya. Shinomiya's riding a bike while she runs through the streets of New York. How did we even get here?
He's gotten a lot fatter too. He's just like, I don't care, just keep running. I need to eat more donuts.
Emphatically bites into a chocolate bar.
I love the end of this chapter. I mean, I think I agree with you completely that Momo's dish itself really kind of won me over with how cool and actually like elegant it seemed. It really did feel like a dish worthy of like that central name and everything. And feels like something that I'm like, I could see why this would be on that caliber of like a dish that's impossible to beat. But I'm super excited to see what happens with Megumi from here. I'm worried that there's a part of me that's gonna be like, oh, she just didn't work out for her or something like that. But I want her so badly to win this match and have something crazy cool happen. I guess I'm mostly just excited to see what kind of crazy universe like the judges get put into when they taste her dish next week. They're like, it's like she just punched us out with flavor, and it's just like knocking out the judges one by one, putting them in like cobra clutches.
Well, that's how they get the fan service. So they imagine just being put into weird wrestling holds while naked.
Obviously.
There's nothing sexual about wrestling. What are you talking about? Nothing. Nothing so erotic about this.
Yeah.
All right, then let's go ahead to Astra, Lost in Space. I haven't had a chapter of this in a while. I'm glad we have it back. Mm-hmm. So
For
last time,
very significant chapter. Nothing really happens.
Nothing important happens. Nothing at all. They're all just standing around, still talking by the end of it, very calmly. And
Imagine we'll be done discussing this in about 20 seconds, so don't worry.
So last time, Charse had told everyone his history with Princess Seira, the original that Ares was cloned from, and he explained why he was planning to take her back now and why his mission had changed as a result of his recognizing her. We just get a little bit of kind of a recap of this, like, hey, yeah, so Ares, I remembered that Seira said she told me she came up with your name by reversing hers. Yeah, we got that.
I don't know why they've had to, like, this is like the third time. It's just like, guys, Sierra, spelled backwards, is Aerie. Like, I get it. It was... They're like, but the physical body is over here, but then the spiritual actology is over here. I got it.
Thanks, Lucy, or whoever the fuck gave that explanation. Urza, probably. So, Charles reiterates that Sarah is your biological mother. An egg with a genetic profile was implanted in Emma's womb when you were born. I suspect the king must have ordered her to be a surrogate and had her temporarily removed from Sarah's service while she was pregnant. Sarah mentioned that Emma had strong maternal feelings towards the baby, and I'm sure you know how true that was better than anyone. And, of course, Ares has memories of her mother and basically her wonderful childhood with her. And she has a big emotional moment because she realizes, like, I guess she kind of like lets go of that fear that she was keeping hidden. Because, I mean, she said that she knew that her mother loved her, but there's only so much you can hear about the horrible shit that all the other kids' parents put them through before. So Kanata confronts Charles about his scheme. He says, all right, so you're planning on taking Ares home, but what are you going to do after that? And Charles says, like, well, I'm going to present you to the king. He thinks that Sarah's clone is dead, and if I present her to him, he will be pleased and will be like his lost daughter has risen from the dead. So everyone kind of just brings up, all right, but I don't know. How the hell did she end up getting assigned to our group? That's the concern that Zach has. How did Ares end up getting assigned to our group? Because we're all clones and stuff. How did she also end up here? And Char says, it's probably the work of the group that assassinated Sarah. They probably spent all these years tracking Emma down and monitoring her. And once the Genome Control Act passed, they must have bribed Olgar's father to have Ares transferred into Group B5. If it was discovered that Ares is genetically identical to Sarah, it is possible that she would be placed in Sarah's place in line for the throne, which they wouldn't want. So, makes sense, although he is purely speculating at this point. And he's, says like, yeah, so I'm going to bring Ares back. She's going to essentially serve as the princess, and I'm going to take her home and make sure of that. And Kanata is like, you motherfucker.
I don't think he uses that word exactly, but yeah.
But he's
like, you goddamn rat fuck son of a bitch. Like, wow, they got harsh all of a sudden.
And I think that he shatters the remote that he confiscated from Charles, because there's big cracking sounds and you see him clenching his fist around it. But he just shouts at Charles like, Ares is Ares and she's not Sarah. And Charles is like, you don't understand. The king would be. Shut the fuck up! Stop talking about the king. And just goes on this long rant against Charles. And says that, hey, you had your own emotions during this whole thing. So think for yourself for a second. What are you going to do after you take Ares back home with you? You are the king's clone. They would just find some way to dispose of you. And Charles just says, whatever. I'll just go kill myself anyway. I'll throw myself into the depths of space. I'll fulfill my purpose. And Kanata punches him. Yay! Punches. And Kanata says, look, I know that after being locked up inside of that prison for your whole life, I saw how happy you were to be out exploring with this. And I know that happiness was not fake. So come on, let's go explore the universe together. We don't even know the first thing about our own world, apparently. And all the others start to chip in and say, come on, just do this. Let's all leave together. Let's go home together. And we'll help each other out. We'll just stick with this plan that we've come up with. And Charles says, no, I can't do this. I can't change the way that you want me to. And was it Lin Hua? I forget her name. God damn it.
Never going to remember this one.
Singer girl says, I'm so sorry. I was doing so well with all these characters, but then she came. I was like, God damn it! I remember like everyone else except for her. And she says, I changed. You can change. If I can change, you can change. All of us can change. You shouldn't say it like that. But that is essentially the sentiment that everyone says, and they're all joined together in saying that to Charles. And Charles finally has a big emotional breakdown. Yunhua, thank you. Thank you, Annalise. And Char says, I know, I've been on this trip from the beginning too, but I just can't help it anymore. And there's big full-page spread of him just kind of letting all the emotions finally out, all the ones that he's been hiding this whole time. Because, yes, he feels the way that they've been saying he feels, but he is still determined. And he holds up his left hand and says, hey, the remote from the orb? Yeah, I kept the remote in the left cuff of my crust suit so that I had it handy, but hidden at all times. And I kept a spare in my right. And so he takes out another remote. Everyone freaks out. Kanata tells them all to get away, and an orb appears between the group and Chars. And they can't really do anything at this point. Olgar takes his gun out, but he can't get a clear shot because the orb is in the way. And so Kanata's like, "It's all right. It's okay. We've got Ares over here, so he's not going to use it to come after us because he wants to save her. So it's fine." And Olgar's like, "Well, then why the hell did he summon the orb?" And Kanata knows immediately what the hell is going on. He says, "I know what you're thinking. We're friends after all." And the orb doesn't go towards the group. It just kind of stays there. And Kanata says Chars is trying to kill himself. So, and of course Chars has his big, "I'm sorry, everyone. I do like all of you." And of course Kanata's like, "Nope." Breaks off at a full run. And everyone's like, "What the hell is he doing?" And Kanata says, "I figured you'd try this from the start. I can read you like a book, And Ares has a big kind of romantic interest moment where she's like, "Kanata, you're always running, aren't you? Fearlessly, straight ahead, at whatever life throws at you. You have since the moment we met." And then he dies.
That'd be great if one of the images was like him running and stealing the last piece of pizza from in front of her. She's like, "Many of those times were admirable. That time you were a real chicken shit, though."
Running bow-legged towards the bathroom. Shut.
I'm going in first. "I just have to fix my hair, you bastard."
But Kanata does his trademark boost jump signature leap thing, jumps over the wormhole, and he even calls it like his finishing move thing, these ultimate dive bomber, and tackles Chars and pulls him away from the orb as it's coming towards them. And at that moment, because Chars and Kanata are right next to each other, the orb is still coming towards Chars. And Kanata, meathead that he is like, "You stay away from us, damn orb!" and sticks his hand into it. And his arms are just getting pulled in and sucking him in. So Chars instinctively turns the orb off. And the orb disappears and takes Kanata's arm with it. Oh my. That is a really shocking image right there. This is just his arm getting stretched out in one panel, and then just a big full body shot, and he's clutching his elbow stump.
It'll be fine. I'm sure it will be revealed that one of the members there was temporarily part of the fourth squad, and they know Rietsu, so they'll just fix it up.
It's okay.
I interned with the fourth.
Walk it off.
I interned with the 4th Division for a weekend once. I know how to heal injuries like this.
And then we get this big 2-page spread of just Kanata's arm floating through fucking space. It's a rather beautiful image, actually. Very serene.
I wonder if that arm's going to play a huge part in something. Like if someone finds the arm and they're like, "He's out there."
Okay, the Death Star emerges like, "Now we will find where the denizens of Earth are gone." Hey, wait a minute. Is that arm out there? No, it's going into the vending duct.
Oh, why didn't we put something over that duct?
Wait a minute. Is it going towards the self-destruct button that we've got randomly hanging out on the side of the building? No! Kanata, of course, is not doing so great because his arm is gone.
He's fine.
Kitari quickly applies a tourniquet to his stump, and Charles is immediately just incredibly apologetic, and Kanata says, "Hey, when we get home, you better take responsibility for this. You're gonna stay by my side and help me. You got it. Listen, I'm gonna have my own ship someday, and you'd already said you'd join up, right? So now you're my new right hand." Being bizarrely understanding for a man who just lost a lot of blood. He's like, and is probably suffering from shock.
I'm gonna go fucking bonkers in a moment. I had one heartfelt speech left in me. It's all gibberish from now on. Banana bobble! They just screaming at him.
Are you questioning my commands? Do you remember what I did for you?
I am the captain of the SS Pentafold, and you will respect my command, you scallywag. Two. He's like, let's just put him out for a little bit. This scene's getting significantly less heartwarming as he goes on.
Oh boy.
This is a very big chapter, though. It's a very good chapter. I mean, you got a ton of emotion out of it. We have everything with Charles and his sort of like complete breakdown. Everything that he had left, emotionally is just laid out on the table. You get these sweet sentiments from all the other characters. It really does feel like a cumulative buildup of what has happened throughout their adventure. All these characters who have changed and how they want to all become and continue to be the good people they've changed into, and they don't want to see Charles go, even though he's shown himself to be, the saboteur in their midst. They all kind of want him to continue on with the group. They all have seen him as a friend. So, it's a very emotional chapter. You got a great moment from Kanata, leaping over that. I love the parallels to that in the first scene. So it's all extremely just well done, very emotionally satisfying, cool, and kind of complete.
Mm. And plus, now Kanata can get a hook hand and be a proper captain.
He'll be like Aquaman. I feel like you left me hanging on that. I feel like I look like a big asshole now and I made an Aquaman reference.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I see how this game goes.
That is the best Aquaman. I mean, let's be real, though. Hook hand Aquaman. Really like the chapter. I was honestly taken completely aback by it when I first read it. I mean, his arm is missing. I'm like, oh shit! Because you don't like, as much as these guys have been through so much, nothing bad has happened to them up until this point. Really, they've always managed to get out of things unscathed after just a little bit of emotional maturation. And I get the feeling that there ain't no breaking this group up any from this point on. One of them will have second thoughts, and guy will be like, "Hey, you, get back in line."
They're like, you gotta put something at the end of that, man. It's so weird. Like,
no, I refuse.
You refuse to act as though there's not something at the end of it, so put something at the end of it. I never.
Okay. Let's move on then to God.
The deflation of Nick in that moment.
Oh,
we're talking about Full Drive next.
I read it, but I don't remember anything about it. So it's chapter 3, Dan versus Atsushi. He has a table tennis game with Atsushi, the weird blonde guy from before. And I don't get the joke at the beginning where Dan's like kind of lazy when he shakes his hand at the start of the match. And freaking Marin gets really upset with him. Like, why are you being so vacant with that handshake? It's like, I don't know. What is he doing?
I guess they're trying to say he just doesn't have a very forceful personality, and he just doesn't, like, it's just kind of like natural for him to give like a milksop kind of like handshake greeting to people. I'm not entirely certain, but that's the best gist I'm able to kind of grab from it.
So they have a match, and Atsushi uses... I completely forget this was a whole thing. He uses the Chiquita. Yes, the banana. That is exactly what it is. I literally saw the name of the technique whenever this. I was like, what, like the banana? Yes, actually. It is specifically named after Chiquita bananas because it curves powerfully like a banana.
That feels weird. It feels like that because Chiquita's a brand. Like Chiquitas aren't a type of banana, are they? It's like a brand of banana.
I think so.
So it feels weird to like brand. It'd be like it's the Kleenex shot instead of like it's the facial tissue shot or whatever.
So Marin is like, his Chiquita technique is top tier internationally. And Dan's just like, well, I have my own super bendy my body return. And they're kind of trash talking during the match. And it kind of does that Prince of Tennis thing where you just kind of see their cool return strokes. And then people just talk over it to tell you how the match is going. Because Dan kind of goes, "Hua!" And Marin goes, Dan's taking control. I mean, if you fucking say so.
Sure.
I guess.
I vaguely know the rules of table tennis.
Do you want to, like, convey that through facial expressions? No? Okay. And, like, the thing that Atsushi realizes is Dan puts a crap ton of spin on all of his drives with the loops and high spin drives. And he doesn't have physique or reach. He does have a weapon spin. And Marin says, he may be a shrimp in a space case, but on the ping pong table, he has sharp fangs that allow him to fight opponents bigger than himself.
Sorry, I never liked to degrade sports. I know that many of them.
I want to like it.
There are depths to their actual strategy, the likes of which that once you start to understand, you could appreciate that sport a whole lot more. But I think you have to, for this sport, call it table tennis, because when you say, but on the ping pong table, he's got real sharp fangs like a shark. It's like, no, come on, man. You're like, this dude, he's a complete bitch, but you get him a ping pong table and he will destroy you. I'm like, you gotta help me here.
It's like Christopher Walken in Balls of Fury, because he's like, ping pong, or as the Chinese would call it, ping pong. It's a weird fucking movie.
Because this is, sort of the grand scope of the chapter. They have this fight, and then ultimately Don wins by giving like a counterattack of some kind, and
a rising counter.
And it's it's this big twist of like, hey, he's a strong character, and this is the end of the Jumpstart as we're going to know it. If this gets picked up, then yeah, sure, we might get more, but there's a very good chance I think we won't be seeing any more of Full Drive. I forgot the name of the series for a moment. I want to call it Aga no Tennis again. And, I don't think that Full Drive is necessarily like a bad series or anything like that. I don't think this manga is bad at telling a story. I just think the main issue has kind of been that like the character of Don himself isn't a particularly like interesting protagonist, and the series is just relying a little too much, I guess, on you already having some level of investment in table tennis as it is. Because, like, the beats themselves make sense. Like, yeah, portraying Don as this, underdog who doesn't seem like much when you first meet him, but when he gets into the field, when he gets into his sport, you see that he has these fangs like a wolf. He'll take anyone down, anyone bigger than himself. But, it's like a hard sentiment to really express that in a sport where it looks like his opponent's maybe like 3 inches taller and maybe got 20 pounds. Like, it's not like this is a dude going up against somebody who's like a Goliath towering over him, like some big muscle head. It's like, yeah, no, this seems like a very viable matchup between two table tennis players, I guess. It's just hard to buy into everything.
There is a filler episode of The Prince of Tennis called The Prince of Table Tennis.
Okay.
Where Echizen is confronted by the ace of Segaku's table tennis club, who I think the premise is he's like trying to impress Sakano or something like that. And so he challenges Echizen to a table tennis match somehow. And it's really easy to get Echizen to agree to challenges because his ego is bigger than his fucking head. Um, so they start to have this table tennis match. And of course, the table tennis guy is kicking Echizen's ass at first because of his sport. But eventually, Echizen is just like, I need to stop playing table tennis and play tennis. And because you can, hold a table tennis paddle, like, I think you're supposed to hold it something like this or something like that. I don't know exactly, but you can hold it a couple of different ways. And so Echizen just, switches to holding it like he would hold a tennis racket. Now, if your sport is tennis and someone hands you what is essentially a tiny tennis racket, why would you not hold it like a tennis racket to begin with? Because as soon as he does that, he starts winning. And he uses all of his his tennis techniques, which work exactly the same way, somehow.
He's like, but when you get right down to it, the size of the ball, the shape of the ball, the weight of the ball, the weight of the racket, the size of the field, none of that matters. I'm just great at this sport too. Be great. He starts playing like basketball. He's like, if I just started thinking of it like tennis, this is so
There's
easy.
There's a chapter like that in Roots of Tennis where he beats a guy at basketball using like trash and like a broom, like a tennis racket. And he beats the guy at like a free throw match or something like that. And it's like, yeah, but he's using a smaller thing to hit it through the hoop. Oh, but that is just better. Fuck off! I'm sorry. Okay, Full Drive, I don't like it, but honestly, I've got like no emotion or attachment towards it. It's a completely different issue that I have with the Prince of Tennis, where I got invested in it, and then I was like, this is the worst thing ever. This one, I just don't care. And I think a big part of that is like it's trying to build on as this underdog kind of character, and yet we've seen him beat every challenge he's faced and beat every opponent he's faced so far. So okay,
yeah.
And there's not even a point during the flow of the match where it looks like he's completely outmatched. He's just kind of evenly matched with both people that we've seen him face. So
I guess the idea is supposed to be that it's like he is this this inheritor of an old style of table tennis going up against a new world of table tennis, but it's really hard to like see that premise actually carried through. And to give a fuck, it's ping pong. I'm sorry,
ping pong. All right, then we've got chapter 2 of Golem Hearts, Visitor. Okay, so recently someone sent me a little tweet that said, "You were wrong about Golem Hearts." No, it wasn't. I was completely correct. I called this last week. I said it would happen.
They were saying that you were specifically wrong in saying that like one of the two characters would die.
Yes. Well, no, they didn't say that. He just said you were wrong about Golem Hearts. Maybe they were referring to when the female character would show up, but I called that the dad would die. Spoilers.
Spoilers for something we're about to talk about in 10 minutes.
Yes, the continuing, definitely not over here adventures of Noah and Lemek. I guess it's possible Lemek's not actually dead. I guess it's possible. He's not dead at the end of the chapter, from what it seems like. So after Noah stopped the kidnapper at the end of the last chapter, he and Lemek are now basically treated like heroes by the town. And even though Noah screws up because he tries to, practice some arcanist stuff and help out a chef, and instead of accelerating it, he causes it to grow and break the ceiling. And the cook scolds him for a little bit, and he's like, "Hey, stop. Just relax. Take your time, okay? I appreciate you trying to help." So
I do like that. It's a nice way to show that he's still got the same problems, but the town's definitely reacting to him in a much different way, and this one's a lot more beneficial to try and actually help him out.
Yeah. And So we see Noah gets a few tasty treats. He keeps calling them tasty treats. That's I guess what they are.
I mean,
Tasty treat brand, tasty treats.
they look like fucking tomatoes, which if you're just eating those raw, I'm like, there's nothing tasty nor a treat about this. This is a punishment.
So he had some in order to share his tasty treat with Lemek, and we see a random soldier who looks like he's straight out of Red Sprite, actually, with the white uniform, talking with a cloaked figure, and so he orders some of those skunk mushrooms that. Yeah, when do you call something a skunk mushroom? Like, who is going to order that off of a menu, honestly? Apparently they're a delicacy, though. So
this might be a world. Maybe that's like a joke of the world that like food is goofy and weird. So it's like, yeah, skunk mushrooms are delicious. Someone's like, ew, did you have to have some pizza the other day? He's like, yeah, it was so revolting and gross. I hated every moment of it.
So the military guy orders 10 servings of skunk mushrooms. And the chef's like, a feast like that might keep you from your job even longer. And the soldier says, be that as it may, I never miss a chance to indulge myself. I've never been one to control my desires. Ooh.
Well, that sounds odd and horrifying. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. Just run back into this kitchen.
And before we cut away from the scene, because the military guy leaves, so we see someone else order, and they're like, "I'll have the foil roasted skunk mushrooms, 50 servings." We can cut away from that. Lemek is continuing to struggle with his Golem Hearts stuff. There's a little golem that he made that makes coffee, and by puking it into a cup.
I love that golem. I want that to be an actual item. He's like, 1 cup of coffee, sir. Sure thing. Ding. And you just have to be like, thanks, golem. Like, I know he's like, ew, it's gross, but I feel like that's only because he's supposed to be like bad at everything he creates. I hope that the good, like talented arcanists or whatever can actually make that like fucking golem work, and it's just like that is just how people get coffee in this world, is a little tiny golem just spits it out of its mouth.
Or like a more consistent arcanist comes by, no, you made it all wrong. Here, let me show you how the golem's supposed to go. Here, doesn't that taste so much better?
He's like, I guess it does.
Noah reiterates his whole, I'm going to be the second best arcanist in the world, so that means you're the best and super awesome. But all of a sudden, a giant golem appears and snatches him up. And it's the military guy there with a huge-ass golem. And Noah doesn't seem to be too concerned with being grabbed, as Captain Garbo introduces himself. But he is very concerned with the fact that he dropped his tasty treat.
It's a fucking tomato.
It doesn't have the consistency of a tomato, though. Like, you can see his like bite chunks taken out of it when it's on the ground.
Well, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Tomako from The Simpsons, where it was a tomato on the outside and tobacco on the inside. And that's what it looked like when people bit into it. It was just like, it still had like the outside skin of a tomato, but the inside was like this solid texture.
Ugh. So Lemek tries to handle things peacefully at first, like, hey, what brings you here, Captain? And Gar was like, I'm going to test something out because I've heard something about this kid of yours. So he just takes a knife out and slashes it over Noah's head, and the tip breaks off because he's a golem. He's like, oh, good, perfect. And Noah's like, what if he hadn't been a golem? What the hell? And Garbo says, I would have been sorely disappointed. Okay, then. Dick. So, Lemek suddenly realizes that the cloaked figure is with Garbo, and the cloaked figure is actually the kidnapper from before. And so, presumably, he found out someone who would pay him for information and ratted him out. Said, hey, there's this very human-looking golem over here. It's really powerful. So, Garbo tries to handle things peacefully at first. And says, yeah, I want to have this golem. And, of course, both Noah and Lemek are like, no, you can't separate us. And so Garbo's like, okay, well, hey, if you created this golem, so you could create golem weaponry for us. So join us and, become an arcanist for the army. And Lemmick says, no, give Noah back. And Garbo's like, all right. And his golem shoots like a laser, like a repulsor blast from its palm and blows up their house. Yay. And I love Garbo's reasoning for this because he's just like, well, you don't have a home here anymore, so maybe you should enlist. So you can have
It's a great response of like, we have a home here. Now you don't. Join the military.
Lemmick almost loses it, but he kind of takes a breath and laughs it off. It's like, oh, well, I do like camping, so maybe you've done me a favor. Come on, we'll just, camp out for the rest of our lives. Give me Noah back. Of course, Garbo is still not going to do this, and so he just says, fine, if you're going to play things that way, then we don't have any need for you. So I'm taking Noah. Bye. Lemmick, of course, says, no, Noah is my family, and I won't let you do this. And he rushes forward and tries to use his Arcanist abilities to, I guess, depower Garbo's golem by casting Golem Art 0 on it. Lemmick thinks that his art has failed once again, but Garbo just says, no. It's equipped with the Golem Art padlock, so only its creator can make modifications, so you can't do anything against it. Anyway, die. And the golem punches him and sends him crashing through the debris of the house. Noah starts to freak out. He smashes the hand that's grabbing him and rushes over to Lemmick. And he says, hey, are you okay? And Lemmick's got a giant wooden plank sticking through his abdomen. Oh my.
It's one of those like he's fucked up. All right. Like, we didn't want to make it too graphic because this is like a series for children. We wanted to make sure he is dying.
He's definitely going to die if something doesn't happen drastically. And Noah kind of goes into shock and denial at first. He's like, "Hey, come on, we're gonna stay in the village forever, Master." Look, I know. I'll use resurrection to patch up your injuries. I've failed every time, but up to now, but I think I can do it. I made a ton of progress with my lessons and stuff. And he just says, "I'm sorry, Noah. I said we would work at it together, but it looks like I'm done for. But even on your own, I know you'll become a great Arcanist. Just like you said, the best Arcanist this world's ever seen. No mistaking it." And he tells him one last time to run away and keep himself safe. Garbo's like, "Oh well."
Bye.
Go grab the golem. And there is a flash of light, and Noah is equipped with the Golem Art Paladin once again, has slashed his sword, cut the golem in half, and also cut into Garbo on the other side of the golem. And he demands that they all leave. The kidnapper grabs Garbo and hauls ass. And immediately Noah is back to talking to his probably dying master, saying, "You're helping me. We're going to learn. We're going to work hard together." And he collapses. We cut back to outside of the restaurant, where we saw that mysterious hidden figure before and see that it's revealed to be the girl from the debut chapter's colors pages. And she's like, 50 servings couldn't fill me up. All right, then. So, because she's a big eater. That's one of her things. But she spots that there is a commotion around the remnants of Noah and Remic's house. And says, what's going on over here? Is there some kind of brawl going on? Of course, everyone who's like in the circle is like, "Come on, Lemmick, don't die, please."
They're like, "Oh, it's so awful. He's dying." She's like, "Oh, and what exciting commotion is going on over there. I bet this leads me in a side quest."
I'm gonna go check it out.
Yeah, Fwang, my toothpick is fucking moving independent of itself.
Maybe I can punch people.
Yeah, I like this chapter. It took me a bit to realize why Lemmick hits a nerve with me as much as he does. And I realize it's because he reminds me of Dr. Riddles from Zatch Bell. Like, he feels like he fits that aesthetically and a little bit personality-wise, too. And that's also a story about, like, an older kind of wacky guy who has taken on this young boy as kind of like his adoptive son / partner and then has to lose him in like a pretty devastating way. Obviously, the person who loses out here is different in this scenario, but spoilers for Zatch Bell. Kiddo doesn't win the whole fucking tournament, in case you cared. But yeah.
Oh, like,
no! Oddly enough, his name isn't in the fucking series, so he's not one of the last characters around. But yeah, like I really, kind of realized where that comes in and gets that resemblance. And I like the story they're telling here. Is again, this is a series that feels very emotionally earnest and hits in that way that's pretty powerful. It's teasing out little bits here and there. We now have like a shot of the actual military. There's this notion of padlocking things. It's a very, well done chapter. This new character hasn't really hit me so well, but we only know literally like 2 things about her, and that's that she eats a lot and that she's walking towards the commotion. So maybe next week they reveal a lot more about her. But yeah, I like this chapter a lot.
I shielded myself emotionally from the outside of the series, so like, okay, it's fine. But it was definitely a big emotional moment to see, this death scene happen. I was kind of expecting it to go on a little bit longer before they reached this point. I'm not 100% certain if Lemmick is dead or not. I'm pretty high up there, but he's not dead from what I can tell, from what I can gather at the very end of the chapter, if they're actually talking to him. Unless everyone in the town is just like, what? You have to be drawing breath to be alive? Oh, okay. I guess he is dead.
Oh. I guess I should stop giving him CPR then.
But I'm interested to see where this goes and see what this new character is about, too.
Indeed.
All right. So from there, we're going to go on to Dr. Stone. What time is it, Chris?
It's time to get stoned with Stone.
It's Z equals 34, sneaky grand bout strategy. It's time for the tournament. In order to decide the chief of Kakaku's village. And last time we got Ruri seemingly recognizing Senku's name. And it's the top of this chapter. She approaches him and she asks something that is actually interesting that I don't think has actually come up. What are all these characters' last names? We know a couple of them, like Tsukasa. We know his last name. But I don't think we know Taiju's name, even, for that matter. Because
I feel like we do. I think they introduced those early on. I feel like we got those. I think the key to this one here is that no one in the village has last names. That's not something the village really has.
Let me double check this. I want to see if
it's possible they may not. I thought they would have given them for them. I just don't remember them because they don't get brought up very frequently. But yeah, she asked what his last name is, and the implication to that being, obviously, she knows at least somebody, or is heard at least somebody with Senku's family line, and who's maybe mentioned named Senku. And
Taiju's last name has been mentioned. It doesn't look as though Yuzuriha's has been, though.
I mean, the implication to me to this is that maybe she's met, like maybe Senku's father has also made it to the Stone World.
Something like that.
Well, he's the only family member of Senku's that we actually know of at this point. They could easily be like, oh no, it's his mom, or oh, it's like a family member that just hasn't been mentioned to this point, but the dad's the only one we know of. And I think that'd be a pretty crazy, interesting thing to find out is like, oh, Senku's dad, who we found out was like a pretty cool dad, like, gave his son every opportunity he could to, exceed and excel in the way he did. Did he make it to this Stone World as well? And what's happened to him since then? I think that'd be a really cool relationship to dig into. I'm actually really intrigued to see if that is what happened, because I'm really curious to see what Inagaki does with a father-son relationship. That was like an undercurrent of Eyeshield 21 that never really got its full follow-up on. Like, the closure to it was like, hey, are you Haruma's dad here at this one game? Maybe. And then, like, that's it. So it'd be really cool to actually see if, like, this is an actual element, but we don't actually find out if any of this is the case or not, because to me, like, I'm too sick to talk anymore.
Wensleydale in the chat says that he's the son of Ishimaru from High Shield 21. How great would that be? Like, the last hope for humanity is, like, the most forgettable person in the world.
They're like, we believe he died years ago. Still here. You guys just stop paying attention to me.
So Uri asks Senku what his last name is. And Senku, and she actually starts to explain what a family name is. And Senku's like, yeah, I know what it is. But he's confused because she's like, well, last names aren't part of the village's culture, so why is she so interested? And Ruri says, is it Ishi? And then she suddenly has a coughing fit and collapses. But by the look of things, by the way that Senku is reacting, it seems as though she is on the right track because he has a reaction to what she's saying. But before, they can actually follow up on this, all the villagers are like, stay away from the shamaness! So that's something that will have to be picked up on later. But nice little tease. So Senku's like, all right, well, I've got some questions to ask you. So once Kinro wins and marries you, we're going to sit down for a nice long chat. And Magma starts bragging. Then Chroma's like, I'm going to get you, Magma. And apparently, considering that they have been around for, months, Chrome and Senku did occasionally get a chance to practice, I guess, so that they could actually take part in this tournament properly. I like the little image in the background of Chrome, hitting his suspended target, attacking it in ways that don't even make any fucking sense with the spear. Also, Chrome says that he is practicing so that he can hit Magma's weak spot, his junk.
I love how blunt they are about this. Like, by weak spot, you mean, yeah, his dick. And, like, Kohaku's like, good strategy. Since the goal is to whittle down his strength, we should go after his family jewels with a vengeance. And, like, just the notion to, like, yes, keep practicing. Perfect your nut shots as much as possible.
I love how their crossman is like, you're taking this brash tomboy thing really far. I like how that's like the one dirty tactic that they come up with where Kaku's like, yes, that's a good idea. Just like completely unquestioning. There was the reluctance of, I guess we should cheat. And then there is just like, yeah, that's good. Yeah, you kick his nuts. Good job. Right in the nards.
Good idea.
So they are thinking as they're going in, it's like, hey, the best thing that we could do would be to have Kinro and Magma be on opposite sides of the tournament ladder. And that way we could, just wear Magma down over the course of it so that Kinro can finish him off at the end. So Suika is like praying as they're getting ready to arrange the tournament bracket blocks. Like, oh, God, please put Kinro and Magma in separate blocks. Let Kohaku battle Magma somewhat soon. And it gets drawn up, and immediately the first match of the entire thing is Kinro versus Magma. And there's this group reaction shot of everyone.
Everyone has, like, this dead-faced expression.
It looks like they're from a different cartoon. And basically, it's the worst possible bracket that they could have ever come up with. It's so it goes like Kinro and Magma, then Chrome versus douchey goatee guy, who is
Stone
Magma's
Age
ally. Stone Age LeFou. Mantle is his name. Then it's on the opposite side, it's Senku versus Kohaku and Ginro versus some guy.
Brock from Pokemon, it looks like.
Well, if he shows up now, I know what voice to do for him. Oh, God. So, yeah, immediately like, well, it's essentially like the top two contenders of the tournament are going up against each other. Great. But Senku's like, oh, well, no luck. A true scientist never includes luck in his calculations, though. So he just says, we'll still do what we can. And he starts concocting stuff with chemicals, and he's like, our scheme to win the ground bout includes doping with my patent pending power-up science drink.
I love that this series has kind of just become Ice Shield 21. It's just like, our heroes are the most underhanded, insidious, like, tactless group of heroes out there. They're like, no, there's nothing too low for us at this point. We will cheat our way up and down this tournament to get ahead.
Oh, boy. And apparently he's like whipped up this whole batch for them, and then Ginro like just eats the whole thing. So he's like, I'm sorry, I was so nervous. I've got to be the one to beat Magma if Ginro loses to him. So they send us Suika in order to get more ingredients so that they can make more of their doping stuff. But Mantle, Stone Age LeFou, happens to spot her going along. And just as Magma and Kinra are going to start the first bout of the tournament, he comes running across the bridge, and he's like, it's awful! Suika was heading to the river to pick some medicinal herbs, but she fell in! She's drowning! You're the quickest one here, Miss Kohaku! If you don't save her, she's a goner! And everyone's like, ugh! And Senku says, I mean, you're clearly lying. But no, I was just walking by the river and I saw her. And so Chrome's like, yeah, so if you were just passing by and you saw her, then why do you know why she was down there? And Senku's like, yeah, and if you're after a battle of wits with the Science Squad, try coming back in 10 billion years, you transparent troglodyte. Ooh. Transparent troglodyte. But Kohaku says, hey, I know that he's clearly lying, but there is a tiny chance that Suika actually does need help. So what if she is actually drowning? And Senku says, hey, look, if you might end up having to face Magma, at the end of this, because like if you would be the last person in the tournament here. So if you leave now, I don't know. But Kohaku's like, I've got the best chance of getting there and getting back. So I've got to take this chance. So she rushes off before anyone can really stop her. And immediately, a judge is just like, Kohaku is scheduled for this third match. So if she doesn't return by then, she is just out. She's just eliminated right away. Which I guess is going to be the explanation for how Senku makes it into the second round. So there you go. Magma is immediately like, ha ha ha, good going, Mantle. Good job cheating. Good thing, boss. And Magma says, with the Kohaku out of the way, none can oppose me. Ruri will be my bride, and the chief's throne is as good as mine. If you're willing to lick my boots, Kinro, you can be my right-hand man. There's always room for a strong fighter on my side. Go ahead now, in front of everyone. Have yourself a lick. Zip. He's putting his foot forward. Lick my boots.
Yeah. Kiss my ass, JR.
So Kinro says, your words may ring true, Magma, but I refuse to kneel before you. Because while everyone has their schemes to win this bout, I'm a man who insists on fighting the good fight. Besides, things won't go as you've planned. I'm no longer the fighter you know. I must win this fight, for my friend's sake. Unlike you with your dishonorable lust for power, I'm fighting for something far greater. And the chapter ends with them clashing.
I like this chapter. This was exciting. This was cool. I mean, the Suika is drowning in a river. Kohaku, you need to go save her is like almost an eye roll. Like it's eye rollingly obviously a lie of some sort, unless this dude like sabotaged Suika or something like that. But I like how at least the characters recognize it, and Kohaku's just, she believes that it's probably a lie, but she's like, if it's not, I'd never be able to forgive myself. So it's easy to understand why she's willing to almost like let this kind of fall apart. But the matchups are kind of intriguing. You'll notice that, essentially if this match isn't like a one thing kind of victory for Team Science, and it's over after this. You know, look at the people on the other side, and it's like, oh, the obvious final matchups then it is either Ginro or Senku versus Magma, most likely. And I'd be kind of interested, like, would Senku face him in the final and have to find some way to use science to defeat somebody who's that much bigger than him? Might be a good opportunity to kind of showcase or foreshadow this eventual clash with Tsukasa and the army of science.
Or does Chrome hit Magma in the nards a whole bunch and somehow beat him?
That'd be pretty crazy. He's like, I just hit him in the nuts 20 times with this mallet and I won.
Apparently that's all you had to do. He's not so invincible.
Fighting's easy.
It's like when Bobby learns how to fight in King of the Hill from the women's self-defense class. Wins all of his fights by kicking people in the nards and going, I don't know you. All right, it's time for We Never Learn.
Yes, We Never Learn. Question 38. On a clamorous night, X cannot study. So this is our token festival chapter of We Never Learn, where all the girls are wearing these, you know, the fancy, what was it?
Kimono.
Yukatas.
Yukata. Yeah.
Yukatas, whatever, yeah. So yeah, it starts off with Fumino and Takamoto wearing them, and Yuiga's like, oh yeah, you both look great, especially you, Furuhashi. It just flat out suits you. You've got the classic Japanese look. And she's like, oh, there he goes, complimenting the wrong girl. And Yuiga's little, like, younger siblings are like, flat out, you know that type, the figure they say is best for the yukata, right? And I just like how Fumino's like, you shut the fuck up right now, kids. If you finish where this thought is going, I will ruin you. But yeah, Yuiga's mom says like, oh, honey, go off with your friends. And we essentially then get like a collage of Yuiga interacting with the various girls in the series. You know, it starts off with Fumino being like, oh, I'm going to head off now too. So Yuiga, you and Takamoto hang out. And she's, I guess, eating some like like a slushie of some kind. She's like, look, my tongue's bright pink. And I was like, okay, whatever.
And Yuiga's like,
he's like, it's too hot. But then they run upon Ogata's stand. Their family's restaurant has like an udon stand, and I guess they're supremely overworked. I don't get how they're this overworked. I guess they're just taking orders for other stands at the festival. But she literally has like 4 enormous bags of food that she's carrying around, and you're just like, how much food, how many stands are there at this place that they're all ordering food from you, that you are all delivering at once? Regardless, she needs help, so Takamoto's there to help actually cook, and Yuiga and Ogata head out so they can run off and actually do these things. There's a scene of them getting rewarded with a yummy apricot candy that I guess Ogata's like, I don't know, she can't figure out how to eat it on her own, so like Yuiga just holds it out in front and she just like nibbles off of it like a creature. Like he says, like, she looks like some small creature right now or something. He finishes
and
with,
of course, it's of course drawn kind of like pseudo erotically too.
Yeah,
it's like, it honestly, like when I first saw this page, I was like, this is making me kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's definitely like her like reaching out like, oh, and just pulling. It's like she bit into pure fucking apricot like syrup too. Like she got none of the actual candy. I've never had apricot candy before. Maybe that's how it works. I don't know. Along the way, though, Ogata's heading back, and he hears a commotion going on at the sharpshooting range. And he goes over to see a masked femme fatale who is shooting all of the targets and taking all of the prizes.
She's wearing, like, a Super Sentai mask.
Yeah. And it obscures her identity completely. Except Yuiga, who is obviously like, what are you doing, Karasu? Like, what are you doing?
It was also really awkward, like, you know, because she takes all the prizes and they're like, what a mysterious beauty. I want her to shoot me. I want her to step on me. Okay, dude. Like,
well, there's somewhat of
you do you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you can have your kink, go for it, man. I don't know if I'd shout it out in public like that. That seems like an odd place to do it, but hey, you know what? You be you, all right? It is weird though, because there's definitely this weird, like, different sort of like kinkness when it comes to Kirisu. Because even essentially she trips after hearing Yuiga like announce, like, call her out, and she hurts herself, so she has to get carried on his back. And one of the things he thinks of, like, when he's around her is like, wow, she smells so mature and sophisticated. It's like, I mean, she looks like she's in her, like, mid-20s, like maybe late 20s, early 30s. Like, it's not like she's like a wizened fucking sage or something like that. I don't know if she develops that different of a scent. I don't know. Regardless, he has to carry her to the first aid station where, of course, Asumi Senpai is working. She's helping out her dad, who's running the stand. And she basically is like, we're short-staffed as it is. A lot of people have been getting hurt at this fucking festival, apparently. A lot of people have been hating their heads and shit.
Town's full of idiots.
So you fucking fix her up and, like, throws her some shit. So he helps to fix up, Kirisu. And then, the doctor's thanking him, like, oh, even though you're my daughter's boyfriend, you troubled yourself to stay at this late hour. And Sumi's like, well, whispers to him, like, oh, I hope the next time there's a festival we can go together. Just kidding. She's like, why do you do this? She's like, I don't know, bye.
It's very apparent why, because Yumi is like, hey.
Yeah.
It's because you're easy.
She loves it. She's like, man, this shit's so fucking easy. So Yuiga's like, man, I hope I don't miss the last train. I guess there's a little bit more time. But before he gets there, he sees a little girl who's been lost from her mom. And he's like, I guess I'm going to have to be the big, the good Samaritan who brings her home. So Yuiga brings this little girl, reunites her with, I guess, is supposed to be like her twin sister and mother. But when the mom's like, where did you go? Where were you? The little girl's like, oh, the big man helped me get here. And then she's like, huh? He's gone. So obviously that girl and the mom are kind of like in their own states of worriedness. But the other sister says, that's funny, Kana. There was a big girl too, just now. A pretty girl helped Mama and me find you. And we cut over to the train station where Yuiga is breathing heavily at the train station. And then he turns and we see part of a silhouette and then just a reaction of, oh, what? And that's the chapter. And I guess maybe this is meant to be like, here's potentially the introduction of a new girl or new character into the story, I'm guessing.
That's what I thought too. Because I was thinking to myself, okay, which girl is it? But then I thought, well, but he had interactions with all of the girls at the festival. So
the only named character wasn't present was Tsukijo. And I don't think this is like a reveal they'd be saving for someone like Tsukijo, essentially.
I guess it's possible.
Or his older sisters.
And then they fall in love at the train station, and Chris loses the bet.
And I punch a pizza 20 times and say he's a dick.
I don't have a pizza on the line in this. I only have one. I would have to send you one. You don't have to send me one if you're wrong.
Sweet. I love these kinds of deals.
That's why I keep on trying to get you to agree to one where I would get one. And you're like, no. I think you might be right.
I'm tactical. I don't know. It seems like this would be a situation where you could potentially introduce a new character. It's late at night. He potentially has missed he's missed all the last trains, so he has no way to get home. How does he get home? You could easily just say this is some new character, someone he knows, something like that. Something that introduces a different element into things. It seems like the setting is right for that sort of thing to happen.
I don't think they're going to introduce a new character. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think so, if only because Ayumi got introduced so recently. So I don't think that they would just drop another one like 2 months after she first showed up. Less than 2 months, I think, even. But we'll see. All right, from there, we're going to head over to the Promised Neverland. And where the fuck am I? I lost my place. There we go. Anywho, it's chapter 62, Indestructible Monsters. Last time, a man-eater tried to attack the kids, and the old man shot it, And then he was like, I didn't save you. It regenerated and it called for its friends, and now they're really pissed off at you. So good luck. And he explains himself to Ray, who's really upset, by saying, like, I was bored, so I decided to mix things up a little bit. Anyway, I'm pretty sure you're going to die. Good luck. I'm going to go watch from somewhere safe. Bye!
I'll save one of you after the other's dead.
So Ray kind of takes charge from there. And it's like, all right, we need to get rid of these demons. So, okay, I'm going to make sure that you get your demon disenchanting powers ready. What? All right, you don't have baby memories.
You forgot all of the magic that was ingrained upon you as a baby. Only I have those. But God, demons! He just throws like Molotov cocktails. Like, it's not really magic so much as it is weapons of terrorism.
No. You see, the enchantment takes the form of a Molotov cocktail.
It blasts them with holy anti-demon energy. That is just like fire and explosives.
Reminds me of a
potato.
Reminds me of a comic I read a long time ago where a guy was like, dude, why is there a corpse in our living room? He's like, oh yeah, a vampire attacked me, so I had to stab him through the heart with a stake. He's like, how do you know he was a vampire? Well, because he died when I stabbed him with a wooden stake through the heart. Everyone dies when you stab them with a wooden stake through the heart. Oh, are you sure? I'm pretty sure it's just vampires.
It's probably a vampire.
And that man would eventually go on to write The Martian. Ray uses his gun to try and shoot the demons, and he's not very good with it. He keeps on just fucking missing these things as they keep on approaching, despite how giant they are.
Oh, how about a headshot for word for all this latency? This bullet lag is ridiculous.
Hacks!
Ray, this is real life. There is no bullet lag. Your shots just missed.
Shut up and give me the knife. That way I can run faster.
I can't do anything with this hit scan weapon.
He instructs Emma to take out the special pistol and tells her to use the green bullet, which shoots out a net at their pursuing man-eaters, and it gets them all tangled up. And the old man, as he is observing them, realizes that they're using a special pistol which can shoot flash bombs, tear gas, net traps, and something sonic. Interesting.
Thank God in this arsenal of weapons, there was one Batman pistol, I guess, to use.
I understand. I can understand, tiny tear gas pellets.
Oh, I get it.
I don't know how a flashbang would survive being shot from a gun. Net gun, sure. Something sonic.
I get it. Like, I get it in premise. Like, they're all somewhat understandable things. It's just amusing to me that in that arsenal was, like, this plethora of conventional weapons, a bazooka, knives, all this. And then there was just one fucking, like, comic book pistol that shoots out, like, boxing gloves and fucking, like, taser arrows and shit. Like, there's just one crazy, goofy weapon in there.
The old man's like, okay, so they're basically just trying to escape at this point. All right. But they've only bought themselves a couple of minutes. And as Emma looks over her shoulder, she actually realizes the man-eaters are eating each other.
Good.
And quickly enough, they break free, continue pursuing after them. Ray is trying to shoot at them as they run. It's like, oh, goddammit, they nerfed it! Why do they have to balance gameplay my ass?
Jeff Kaplan, please! Says he's being eaten. Why? Rito! Plus!
And even if he does actually manage to land shots properly, they just kind of regenerate the damage. So they're like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Even if we're making smart decisions, we can't do anything. And the old man, it's like, yeah, it's all futile as a man-eater comes up on him from behind. And he lifts up his gun at him without even looking, just shoots it in the head, and it falls out of the tree. That's pretty cool. And he says, yep, it's all useless unless you kill them. Unless you can kill them. Otherwise, it's a waste of bullets. Ray realizes that they're really, really, really in a bad situation, especially because he's been shooting at these guys, and he's basically eaten through like 40% of his ammo, of all the ammo that they brought with them. Well, and it's done absolutely nothing for them. But as he thinks, because they're continuing to pursue after he and Emma, Like, okay, it's like they're indestructible, but no, they're not, because that one died. And when Sanju was giving us the history on humans and demons, I realized the demons can be killed, even the technology that humans had 1,000 years ago, which means that we must have a way to kill them too. But how? Is it by chopping out their heads? No, because of course he saw that, the old man blew off the previous one's head and it regenerated from that. So where's their weakness? And he finally realizes, oh, right, they wear masks. And the masks are in order to hide their eyes from sight so that their vulnerability isn't exposed. And he shouts out to Emma to use her bow and arrow to shoot at the eye in the middle of the one closest to him's face. And she fucking headshots the thing. Nice big dramatic moment. I like the way it looks.
Yes.
And it falls dead. And they're like, oh, is that regenerating? Okay, good. We know what to do now. And they say, okay, so we're going to still try and escape. We're just going to lead them into territory where they'll go up against a different species and use that chance to escape. But now we know that we can at least kill them in order to get some space. And finally, they managed to get to safety, exhausted but triumphant. And the old man's like, good job. Yeah. And then there's just kind of a reiteration of, this is going to be really tough. We already used up a bunch of ammunition getting away from these guys, but we can actually do it. We can do this. And that's the end of the chapter, basically.
Yeah. I mean, we mentioned like the past few weeks haven't had a ton of content within them, but I like this one a lot. I mean, we got some tension there of like, we're firing and it's not killing them. What do we have to do to take these things out? You got that calm, cocky attitude from the nameless guy just watching on, being like, yes, keep trying. You'll die soon enough. It's a pretty satisfying kind of chapter. And, I like the tension they're setting up of like, it's still going to take 4 days to get there. And we've already used like a third of our ammunition at this point. It's a cool tension builder.
Yeah, it was nice to have some kind of progress, I guess you could say, from the previous couple of chapters. It's still really weird to have the Promised Neverland be just a more straight-up action series, and I'm curious to see if this is just going to be like a kind of temporary thing, or if it's going to transition more fully into a combat series as we go forward.
It seems to still be leaning towards not going full combat, even with the goofy Batman pistol that they found. It's still, they're counting out the number of bullets they have left. It was a lot more of like the how do we take this thing down, it's not dying sort of thing.
Emma, Ray, you never should have left the Batcave without the man-eater repellent spray.
It's not a great Adam West.
I'm sorry.
I'm shamed by you.
Okay, you want me to do a really good Adam West? Here we go.
Oh, he was a fucking national treasure, you hideous monster.
You provoked me. R.I.P. Okay.
Right, let's move on then to 7 Deadly Sins, chapter 242, the end of the 7 Deadly Sins. All right, guys, we're at the end of 7 Deadly
chapter.
Sins November.
This is now 7 November Deadly Sin Novembers.
Yeah. No Evan Deadly Ember Sins month. So it starts off with all the characters kind of waking up and recognizing what's happened. They talk about, the first Fairy King and the King of the Giants, how they sacrificed themselves to get here, and trying to figure out exactly where the characters are at this point. There's a moment when Merlin realizes what happened to Gowther, and she's like, he tried to defy the Absolute Order. He'd have been dead if he were human. And Diane has things pretty rough, and I've turned into this pathetic child. And Escanar is like, oh, are you going to revert soon? It's weird for me to have feelings for a child, I think. And then he starts coughing up because I think he's dying. I don't know. All the Deadly Sins are in pretty bad spots at this point, basically. Like, all of them are pretty hurt, either emotionally or physically in some way. And Escanar kind of notes, it's Merlin who notes, that the vapors being released by Melodius are his negative energies growing stronger by the moment, and it's kind of affecting everybody. So Elizabeth's like, I'll take him outside for some fresh air.
Yeah, that'll help.
Yeah, sure. Escanar kind of like tries to deny that anything's happened. He's like, oh, just a little coughing fit. As you can see, I'm still in tip-top shape, I am. And says, let's prioritize getting Merlin's magic back. But where's Bon? I don't see Bon anywhere. And we cut over to Bon, who is with Elaine, who is back in her bed, being, I guess she's still dying. I'm not incredibly sure if that's the case. I assume so, because Bon has kind of a stoic look on his face, but Elaine's pretty optimistic about that, saying, it's nothing for you to worry about, and I'm not going to complain anymore. I'm going to do everything I can for you. They're sharing that sentiment with one another. I guess this is meant to suggest that the situation is growing more grave for her. But we cut back, and there's also a very short moment where Elizabeth says to Melodious that I'll always be here for you. And then Merlin's back to normal, and she made Diane back to normal. I guess she just needed to find this one orb and to fix like 3 problems at once, and she did. Gowther is also... No, never mind. Sorry, that's Hawk. I guess he's talking over there. So Gowther's still unconscious, but Merlin's back to her original form and Diane's no longer tiny. And everyone's like, all right, so let's come up with a plan on how to defeat Chandler. We just have to make sure we figure it out before we get... Oh, fuck, he's here. God damn it. Damn it. Like, they already sense like he just bolted over there. And when they go outside, not only that, they open the door and they find that Chandler is kneeling and crying because Chandler is a very emotional, tough man. And Melodious is there floating in the air holding Elizabeth, and he is in his 10 Commandments form. And apparently he woke up at is obviously the worst possible time. And Bond screams out to him like, no, you can't do this. You're part of the 7 deadly sins. You're the dragon sin of wrath, Melodious. And Melodious is like, ah, yes, Bond. I remember everything. We were such valued friends. Ah, very good. Chandler, show me Zeldris. Chandler will take care of things from here now. And basically, Melodious seems to be turning over to the 10 Commandments side right now. But he's not turning like full heel. He's not gonna hit Seth Rollins in the back with or Dean Ambrose in the back with a chair. Or I guess it was Roman Reigns who got hit with the chair. I don't remember.
What are you gonna do with one-armed Dean? Well, he also explains himself because he says, hey, Elizabeth remembers who she is, so she's out of time, but I have a way to save her. Yeah. And everyone's like, how can you do it? He's like, sorry, but this no longer concerns you. I don't want to have to kill you. As of today, the 7 deadly sins are no more. And that is the chapter. Apparently the next chapter is called, And Then He Leaves on a Trip. I hope it's Chandler. I hope that's what they just cut out. And then Chandler leaves on a trip. And it's like the most tense, exciting chapter of all time. It's a fine chapter. There's nothing really too much to say on this. Like, Melodious wakes up and is evil. There's a few, like, small moments here to build tension between the other characters. It feels like almost everyone in 7 Deadly Sins is falling apart in some physical or mental way at this point. But, no, it's exciting in its own ways, but nothing, like, groundbreaking. It's a transition chapter. Kind of a cool down from the big fights that we've gotten recently and the, deaths that we just had last chapter into the next stretch of this arc, which seems to be the rest of the 7 Deadly Sins having to actually oppose Meliodas for a little bit. And plus, this way, because he is heading off with Elizabeth and Meliodas, we get more Chandler. He's not going to be defeated incredibly soon. So prepare for the horrible reign of Chandler the Demon. Could I be any more terrifying? Apparently. Yeah, he's like, no, I actually can be. So, yeah, good stuff. Look forward to more. All right. Yeah. Black Clover. Is that you preemptively revolting out any good taste in your mouth? Page 132, the victors. Oh. Until last chapter, this tournament was going so well. It was going so well. We had character development. We had some exciting fights. We had a cool character that we were getting to know. There were a lot of like smaller side characters that were starting to get their focus. It was kind of cool. But, you got to make Roman Reigns look strong.
Oh
So here you
shit!
go.
This isn't even Roman Reigns. I don't know
No,
who this guy is.
this is
This is like WrestleTron 5000 or something. Like it's a person that is born without a personality.
this is like if instead of Jason Jordan just being Kurt Angle's son and getting kind of a mid-card singles push, he was immediately just like world champion a few months ago. Like this is ridiculous. This is Jinder winning the championship and losing the championship. All right. So it's the final match with Yuno's team against no. What am I? Who am I even fucking kidding me? It's not even a team competition. This is not a team competition. Yeah. There is no teamwork involved here.
I think I don't know if you actually legitimately see the other two characters in either team do anything aside from them noting like, you go on offense, we'll defend, or, whatever, interpretation of that there is. There's like nothing else between them.
Okay. So it's Noel and N, I think was his name or something like that. Yeah. Something weird.
It's N.
Are defending against Painted McDeer Dude's teammates, while Painted McDeer Dude is handling the defense while confronting Yuno. We don't get to see anything that Noelle and N are doing. We see that Noelle is kind of using her Sea Dragon's lair to cover the crystal in a shield, and they're just like, we must defend! And that's it. Cut away. We have important things to do. So we just kind of get a recap of their confrontation thus far, which is that Yuno is casting a whole bunch of very powerful spells, and Rill is just like, whoa!
Rill is becoming more and more infuriating with every day. I don't know why, but every part of me hates the panel where he's just like, this is getting fun! Ah! Like, is this how he handles himself when he's fighting and things? Like, he just, like, leans back and just like, ah! Fucking hate this dude.
Satellite of love.
He's such a fucking dork.
Satellite of Love in the chat says, it's a real competition!
I don't approve of bullying, but if this person was real, I would bully the shit out of him every day because he is too much of a fucking nerd, okay?
Okay.
Like, I want to, like, put a toilet into this series somewhere so I could fucking dunk his face into it.
Behold my magic! Toilet magic!
Yeah, just
toilet style magic, swirly McFwirly.
That's all my magic does is give swirlies to this one dude.
He uses a bunch of different spells with different incantations, but it's all just different types of swirlies.
And it's only to just counter this one dude and dunk his head into a toilet. It doesn't work against anyone else. That's fine. I don't want to bully them. This kid.
I mean, you have to start it off by like taking his wand away and throwing it in the toilet so he'll reach in after it, and then you dunk him.
Yeah, so. I'm like, I dropped your wand in the toilet. Oh, go get
So Yuno realizes that nothing is working because Rill's just fucking stealing his fucking paintings. And so he's like, all right, Belle, we're doing that. And he thinks to himself as he's using his new ace technique, my experience controlling mana and my mana skin training helped me discover a technique that lets me hold vast amounts of controlled mana inside myself. I was planning to use this in the finals against Astra, but you're a brigade captain, a worthy opponent. And then there's a really weird moment where Belle goes, I'm becoming one with Yuno. I can't get enough of this feeling. Are they having sex? Is that what they're doing? Is this what this is supposed to be?
No, I mean, I have seen manga or anime with that attitude, and it's similar on that vein. But here's the thing. So Black Clover has a lot of like a bunch of characters like have feelings for each other, cutesiness. But anytime it starts to actually delve into it, it always gets really kind of weird and creepy. Like there's like the notions of when Asta starts actually thinking about the sister, and it starts to get kind of creepy.
Mhm.
And then there's like the stuff with Gauch and his sister that sometimes goes a little too far and gets a little weird. And then there's Belle here, who to this point is just like, oh, she has a crush on Yuno because he's fucking perfect. But then like, oh, we're gonna bond spirits together, and she's just like, oh, please be gentle with me, senpai, or something like that. You're just like, oh, this is a little creepy.
After this chapter, they're gonna have like some celebratory buffet, and Charmy is going to like be thinking about her crush on Yuno, and she's going to like be deep throating popsicles or something like that.
Ugh.
So, but Yuno, yeah, says like I refined the technique of mana tuning and all that stuff so that I could hold the spirit's power as well. There's a big glowy uh thing, and he thinks as he's doing it, Asta, I'm going to pull far ahead of you in one move. The one who will win against you. And he looks like a fairy king. Like he's got like a literal like ring of aura stuff forming a crown. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, honestly, but I think it looks a little silly.
I get it.
It could look a lot worse though.
In this series, I think it fits aesthetically, so it looks kind of cool.
But yeah, everyone's like, holy shit, he's a one-winged fairy angel thing. And Rill is like, that's amazing, right out there, I could draw anything. And he summons this weird demon dragon with boobs thing.
He's Grammy. He's fucking Grammy now. We've established now that this character's potential in combat is apparently only limited to what his fucking imagination can paint. And he's like, with no restrictions on me, I feel I can paint anything in fucking imagination's existence. And I painted a dragon with tits. And that's it. Fuck you, Rill. You suck.
So from there, they just kind of have their Kamehameha Galligan beam battle.
This is fucking garbage. She's terrible.
And as they're doing this, Asta is watching the match from his, the hospital wing, essentially. And Rill's like, this is phenomenal. Who'd have thought that I'm being able to exchange blows of armor would make me this happy? And Yuno's thinking the same thing. Like, this is awesome. And I'm like, this is lame. And then Mimosa, who is treating Asta, looks down and realizes that he is basically on the verge of tears. He's covering his face and is scolding himself, and Asta is saying, why aren't I the one out there fighting Yuno? Which is probably the only good moment of the chapter, in my opinion.
This is legitimately a good moment, and I like it that we're, like, I guess maybe this is the context you need to take Asta in, because this makes me like Asta. Like, this is something that I'm like, yeah, I hope he does work harder and he manages to overcome the next challenge. Like, when you put an obstacle in front of Asta's way and you show somebody who doesn't need to, like, really seem to work for anything. Like, that's sort of, I know also did the fucking volcano challenge and shit, but I mean, this is a dude who's apparently been blessed by mana, got the 4-leaf clover, which nobody, rarely gets, and he's just like, oh, I can go up against a captain in my first year. And Asta is like, I worked my, I've been working here to get here. I battled for my friend and still lost in that match, or tied in that match, whatever. And he has to sit there and watch as his, his main rival is now having this epic confrontation. Like, it makes me like Asta's journey more. And maybe it needs someone like, who is just this fucking unlikable, like, stoic vampire of awesomeness who just keeps winning at everything, to be somebody that Asta has to chase after, like legitimately chase after. And it's kind of weird because they're like best friends still. It'd be a little bit different if this was like more like a Naruto Sasuke, like their only connection is that they're both chasing after kind of like the same goal. But like, this makes Asta's journey more relatable to me.
So beam battle continues. Is like, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna beat this Magic Knight's captain guy. And Rill is like, let's draw it together. The ultimate painting. Oh! And then
He breaks his fucking crystal because he's stupid. He's a big, stupid doofus.
The crystal behind him shatters, and all of the onlookers declare he blew it up with his own magic. Captain Rill destroyed his own team's crystal. Which means that the team of N, Yuno, and Noel win the tournament. They win. Now, I'm glad Noel won.
Fuck Rill with a
lame.
fork.
This is lame.
With a giant fork made out of broken glass and fucking skunk urine. This dude is awful.
I mean, I pretty much kind of had a feeling from the beginning that Yuno's team was probably going to be the winners, but this is lame. Like, I mean, he beats Rill, but it's only because Rill is so powerful that he can't control the immense waves of mana coming off his body, and he broke his own crystal. He's just that powerful, guys.
I guess his team is also that fucking worthless that neither of them were like, hey, Rill, couple steps forward.
Move forward like about 3 feet.
Yeah, or he was just maniacally cackling too much for him to even hear it.
Oh!
Yeah. Look, it would have been a satisfying thing if Yuno overcame Rill, but it showed that he had growth, but to actually overcome a captain, maybe he required the teamwork of a fellow team member, and there's a huge, member in Noel who has a ton of significance. Like, the fact that Noel's part of his team and does nothing in the final match at all, it was just a giant, DBZ-style beam fight between these two characters. It's just weird and anticlimactic for a tournament that was giving us glimpses and showing us these side stories for all these numerous different characters we just kind of met, to then be all right, well, it all boils down to a giant beam fight between the two strongest characters in the tournament, and the other ones, who cares? It's kind of deflating. Now, if you read the actual end of the magazine this week, they preview next week, and it mentions that there's going to be a selection for this Magic Knights team based on people who have competed in this. So presumably there's a chance for, accolades to be given to the people who didn't actually win and things like that.
Most improved.
Well, they'll set up a team, and they're you like the away team in World Trigger kind of thing. They're you get to be on, we're going to put you on fucking Zerx Lesnar? No.
Zerx Lesnar?
I couldn't remember his fucking Zerk Lugner or whatever, because you showed such sharp thinking and tactics that were surprising or whatever. And they can give praise to the other characters who didn't win the whole fight. But in this moment, you're just this is a WrestleMania that ended with a DQ finish, it feels or something like that. It's such an underwhelming anticlimax that you're just oh, come the fuck on, dude.
This, in general, I think that this arc with this tournament was pretty darn good. But it ended on the worst 2 matches, and the last one was the lamest by far. Because it was completely contrary to everything that this was supposed to be about. They made a big deal out of, you're supposed to work with your teammates. That was the whole point of Astra and company taking on Langris, because, they overcame his absurd individual power through teamwork and combining their efforts together and coordinating their attacks. And then Rill one-shots an entire team by himself. And then the finale is Rill and Yuno go mano a mano. And that's it. Mm. Sucks. And Rill is stupid. Okay. Let's go on to One Piece. Finish on a positive note, maybe. Okay, chapter 884. Who is that? Last time...
This is the chapter where we introduce the newest son of Big Mom's group, Rill, Charlotte Rill.
Ah!
I cook and beat you all.
Last time Luffy was able to land a hit in on Katakuri, socked him one good, punched him with his Kong gun, and knocked him through a wall. And Luffy explains what he has realized at the beginning of this chapter, which is, I thought you were invincible because armament haki is supposed to be the power to hit your solid form. It's supposed to be able to work on Logia powers, but my punches went right through you, so I thought they weren't working. But I was wrong. My attacks can hit you. And he demonstrates this by socking Katakuri right across the face. And he says, like, yeah, so your armored defense that was really powerful before, you can't actually go power for power against Gear 4. It's not your mochi powers that are so great, it's your color of observation. And he kicks Katakuri across the ground. Katakuri gets a little bit of distance and kind of recovers, because when Luffy tries to use his Kong organ, which is, his Gear 4 equivalent of Gatling, Katakuri dissolves his body out of the way of the blows. And Katakuri says, yes, so you're right. I'm just reforming my body to dodge your attacks, and it's possible if you can see the future using haki. By losing my grip and getting a bit excited, I allowed you the opportunity to attack. You need to be properly calm for observation haki to work. And Luffy tries to throw a punch, and he just grows a hole in his stomach and dodges it that way. But he acknowledges Luffy's abilities, and he says, yeah, I'm beginning to understand how it was that my brother Cracker was defeated. So, in order to counter, Katakuri uses his next technique, Unstoppable Donuts.
I love that Luffy's reaction to this too is like, hey, those aren't mochi. Like, it's just like, you're supposed to use mochi attacks. Donuts aren't mochi.
And I freaking love this next thing he does, because he summons these gigantic arms out of mochi in the air and coats them with armament haki and punches Luffy right in the fucking stomach with remote arms. It's cool.
They've gotten a ton of fucking mileage out of mochi powers.
So he punches Luffy into the goddamn wall and says, I won't be giving you that opening again. We're back to the starting point.
This fight's still going on. Holy crap.
We cut away from there to Cacao Island, to where Pound has, I guess, realized where Chiffon is now outside of the sweets factory where she and Pudding and Sanji are trying to make the wedding cake. And she's like, oh, please, I want to know. Come on, let me see my daughter. I'm really getting annoyed with this guy, if it's not clear.
I like Pound.
I'm getting really annoyed with him. So the three chefs, kind of hear a little bit of a commotion going on outside. But then they get word from a Denden Mushi that the Straw Hats are going to show up at Cacao Island, where they are. And Sanji's like, wait, what? They're coming here? Oh, boy. Then we see we see what was Brûlée? That was it. Reporting to, I guess she's just on she's on the Denden Mushi. I don't know where she actually is though. Oh, she's also in the Mirror World. Yeah. Okay. It's a little hard to tell with the location sometimes when they're in tiny panels. Kind of need a bigger view of things sometimes in One Piece. She kind of just repeats information that we already know, and she kind of wraps it up by saying, don't worry, the other Straw Hats won't be any match for Brother Oven and his forces, and they're already over there. And Charlotte Oven, the fourth son of the Charlotte Minister of Baking, appears. And he's like, my hair is the most ridiculous yet in this arc. Look at that shit. How do you get your hair that way? Lots of wax.
That, or he grows his hair out like a full kind of like sideways, like, or I guess like a diamond, and then he just has somebody shoot through it in like two perfect angles, and he's like, perfect now.
Oh. Oven, of course, is hearing all the commotion that Pound is causing, so he's like, what the fuck's going on over here? Um, da, 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 da. Pudding says, that she's worried because Luffy's fighting Katakuri, and he's got a billion berry bounty. He's never lost a fight in his life. And Sanji just says, well, there's a first time for everything, and it looks like today's his unlucky day. Don't worry. Let's just make that cake. And Pudding immediately is like, you're so hot. So, but then something unexpected and important happens because there is word that they get that every last territory sea slug in the area is gone, which is causing Peckham's and the other people with him, which includes, of course, Mark Wahlberg, to panic. Now, was there... I've forgotten something here, Chris, I bet.
Okay.
Because are these territory sea slugs important for some reason?
Remember, when they first came to the island, they noted that the territory slugs would alert Big Mom's group to anything that would happen in the area. So it's why traveling around through this arc has been very difficult for them. They had to kind of get snuck in through Peckham's at the start, and then they kind of had to navigate in a long way around otherwise, and why they haven't been able to just kind of move freely. The territory slugs kind of alert to everyone and would make it impossible to just purely escape. But by all of the slugs being moved now, it means the Straw Hats can move just completely free and unimpeded into wherever Sanji is, and they won't know how close they are, when they're about to get there, anything like that. It basically means that where they are and any other factors, like anyone else in this area, are all unknowns now.
And I had completely forgot all of this. So, but we see that the reason that all of the sea slugs are gone is because they have been enchanted by Praline, who is singing them a song and luring them towards her. Praline being Big Mom's fishman daughter, who had defected against her outside of her knowledge. And yeah, that's the end of the chapter.
I like this twist because it's one of those you could tell Oda set up a while back. We didn't have any real reason for why he mentioned there was a fishman trader in their army outside of and then she's gonna show up and help the crew out. We know Jinbei had gone out for some help at one point prior to this, so it's kind of cool to see this come together, and it's one element that's kind of popped into how the characters are gonna the first turnabout of many to help the Straw Hats kind of come out victorious here. So I dug it.
That's it. That's Week of Manga recap for this week. So let's name our favorites.
My chapter of the week will go to Astra. I think this is a really good chapter for Astra. There were some other decent chapters this week, but I think Astra... It felt like a really long chapter of Astra, too. I wonder if it was...
It was a long chapter of Astra. Yeah. It was 30 pages.
So, obviously, it was a very significant chapter for Astra, and it felt like it. It really kind of told its story and did it in a very satisfying and complete manner.
I'm also going to give it to Astra because it was an awesome chapter from beginning to end. Very dramatic, had an unexpected twist, and yes, good.
My character of the week is going to go to Rill because he's so great. He's so cool.
I'm going to punch you.
He blew up his own crystal because he's so powerful.
Because he's so great.
He's just that amazing. He's
so
amazing.
Great that he goes around to incompetent.
Yeah. He's so carefree. He just fucking wandered into a tournament without anyone asking. No, I'm going to give it to Kanata because he had a pretty cool sacrifice there. Reminding why he's a good kind of leader of that group, and remind me also that I forgot to put him in the nomination for the Superlative Awards for Best Hero of the 2017. He definitely deserves a spot in there because he's been pulling his weight there, definitely.
I'm also going to go for Kanata. He really just seems like an obvious pick at this point because in terms of just character moments, there weren't a whole lot of big standouts this week. So I think that it just kind of goes to him. And kind of reminds you that, oh yeah, he is the protagonist of this series, isn't he? It's a little easier to forget with the kind of ensemble approach to it, but actually, apparently, like the Japanese title of the series is Kanata no Astra. So
that makes sense, I guess.
His name is actually in the title of whatever. But yeah, good stuff. All right, that is going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap. Thank you for joining us, everybody, here on smashcast.tv/RillOT and twitch.tv/RillOT, where we record the show, generally speaking, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sometimes we need to change that up. So to stay updated, you can follow us on social media. On Twitter, the official podcast account is @WMR Podcast, and your hosts are @RillOT and @YRulerOfTime. We also wanted to give a special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters. Your support allows us to do all sorts of bonus things for you to check out. We did a showdown for the bonus episode for this month, which ended in a very narrow victory thus far for Chris. That is almost a draw. That's kind of one of those things where it's like I kind of have to like demand a rematch because it was such close.
I would say at this point, there's a rubber band match now for our best of 3. This is like Kenny Omega versus that dude from Japan who I don't remember.
Kazuchika Okada.
Yeah, Okada. This is our Omega Kanata.
It was the closest we're going to get to the hour-long draw at this point, I think. Got roughly the same number of votes. Last time I won pretty handily, and this time you edged me out. I think that I got too angry over the iShield 21 thing. Spoilers. For those of you who haven't checked it out. We'll also be doing something pretty soon. I think we've got to do something tomorrow morning, actually.
Yeah, we're going to be doing something tomorrow morning. Fun. So if you're listening live, set your alarms.
Yeah.
Like it's
going to be basically like 7:30 Eastern or something like that. Yeah, you can check out commentaries that we do, Q&A episodes, and all sorts of stuff, all thanks to your support. Thank you so much for that. You can also check us out if you want to check out more Weekly Manga Recap. We have more episodes on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com, as well as on our YouTube channel and on iTunes. Be sure to give us a rating, subscription, comment, and all that good stuff to help us become kings of the hobby section and defeat our eternal rivals, the woodworking podcasts that have acknowledged us and have acknowledged that we are a threat to their empire.
Yes. Do a parody.
Totally the real Woodworking Alliance of podcasts.
But really, we do need people to go out and put in reviews and give us a 5-star review on iTunes. It takes only a couple moments, guys. If you're looking to support the show, if you enjoy listening to Weekly Manga Recap, and you're like, hey, I'm broke as shit, guys. I can't help you out financially. Totally understand that. If you have 3 minutes to spare, go on to iTunes and give us a 5-star review. It helps us out immensely because there's podcasts out there that eclipse us monumentally on the iTunes charts, and I think it's solely just because they have a lot more reviews and stuff like that. So, come on, we got to be at least one of the woodworkers, right? We can't lose to them all.
One of the best ways to support the podcast is just to show it to somebody who you think will enjoy it. So. Yep. And, of course, if you want to send us feedback, ask us questions for a future episode of our Q&A, or to suggest a manga for us to read in the future, you can send all that stuff via email to weeklymangarecap@yahoo.com, and we will see that message, and we will potentially check out a series that you want us to read. Or we'll tell you that we've already reviewed it and point you to an episode.
Yes.
And lastly, special thanks to the people who help make the podcast possible. Steve Mann, our title card artist, you can check out his work on a bunch of different places. All of the title cards he's made for Weekly Manga Recap are available for free on patreon.com/ Steve Mann. Sorry.
It's a big dramatic buildup.
Be forewarned that if you do end up wanting to support him, he does primarily a bunch of NSFW stuff. And, of course, Infamous Planet. Thank you. And that's it.
Yes.
We're done. Close the episode.
Okay. Just
before I injure my fingers again.